All right, hey YouTube, how you doing? It's Max. In today's video, I wanted to talk a bit about this notification I created, I think in yesterday's video, about um, creating a concept map. And pretty much what I did was I went to this website called Incarnate, and I just created this mock map of this world. I would say this is like a county-sized map. I like the idea where you can kind of walk around. It takes some time, but it's not like a complete world map. And so I'll pull up the map right here. So as you can see, this is with the grids. I also have one without the grids. Um, and so it's a bit rough, but it gets the job done for now. Um, I'll kind of go through the process. Um, Incarnate, this isn't really a sponsored video by them, but it's a very intuitive way to make maps if you're interested in map making. And this isn't super fleshed out, but I have the outline of the region here, which is county sized, based off a real county, and then each kind of region I color coded and labeled, and I can walk you through it here on the actual website. But pretty much what I did first was I showed this grid, just so I could kind of get a feel for the size. So I traced. I didn't really trace, but I kind of eyeballed. What I did was I put the real county map into Photoshop and tried to make the grid dimensions the same, and then I kind of tried to eyeball trace the county, as you can kind of see. Um, and these districts are basically watersheds, so it's kind of a way I like to look at maps, either by watersheds or populations. So you can kind of see in I have another map somewhere. Um, this is still Photoshop. Here it is. It's hard to see, but you can kind of see the population distributions. So I was kind of using the watershed maps instead, just to kind of give me an idea of where I wanted to, kind of using real world boundaries to kind of frame how I want this to kind of work. And you'll see all these kinds of like other counties being labeled. I don't think I'm gonna use them for the game per se, but I think that it's interesting to kind of show it. It's an easy way to show the world as a bigger place than what you're presenting. So by having like seven other districts outside that you can label if you want to, it kind of shows like you can put like a um the road ends up going into this district, or this road ends up going to that one, this one goes into that one, this one goes into this one. So they have all these kinds of extra um roads that are kind of going off map, that just kind of show that the world is a bigger place than it is. And so they might have domestic political things going on internally, but also you can kind of start, if I needed, Halloween to have more conflicts going on within it, I can, name this region something and kind of have some foreign relations conflicts with all of these sort of um, neighboring regions. Um, Sorry. And so pretty much for the devlog, I pretty much just redefined all of these towns. I think at one point I had Victoria called Siberia, and I was thinking maybe I'd do like an eastern kind of town, but I felt like it was just a bit um, like trying to come up with like an eastern kind of region in the middle of this predominantly like westernized area just felt a bit like tokenism in a way. So I kind of omitted the eastern region in favor of just kind of making it all seem a bit um, more European, kind of Middle Eastern, maybe with the Amildastad region. um, Maybe some jungles, I don't know, but just having like a clearly Asian inspired area in a county sized map seemed a bit um, kind of odd to me, so that's why I got rid of it. um, but just kind of labeling the roads, So I kind of wanted the capital to be in the center along a waterway. Um, a lot of the times people do like oceans, but I kind of wanted this to be along a central river. So this is going to be a river that kind of runs throughout the county, based on a real river, but just kind of mixing it up a little bit. So there might be some ports scattered along this river bend, like maybe four ports, one per region or something. Not 100% sure, but just sort of, this is a concept map, but this is kind of what I was working on. So yeah, I guess when I make maps, one of the things I like to do is first use the reference image, which is what I kind of proposed earlier here, and then kind of put it into Photoshop, and then do the grids so I can kind of get the sizing correct. And then based on this, I was kind of eyeballing some regions. I omitted some of the regions on here because I wanted there to be a total of 9, but just wanted to, because 8 for the each quest item, and then one as kind of like a hub. So created those regions and color coded them. And then, sort of from here, the first thing I was kind of focusing on was the roads. So, how the road system would connect all the regions. So, because Castle guards the central region, maybe this is a better image to go off because there's less noise. But since Castle guards kind of the central region, kind of have like a beltway going around it, so there's easy access across the rest of the places. So you've got your north, which goes to Gunner's Grim. You got your south that goes to Halloween, your east that goes to Victoria, and your west that goes to Dorconia. And then you kind of have another one that's kind of like a south southeast that goes to Manaheim and later Amildestad, a southwest that goes to Thylanus, um, a north west that goes to Novalock, and then kind of a northeast that kind of goes to maybe a port city, port town, that kind of fuels the capital. And so that's it's kind of also acts as a little buffer if you have like another settlement here, that kind of further protects the interior capital. And you have your kind of like commerce that's probably going through like caravan or trucks, depending on what time period you're kind of dealing with, and then your kind of nautical commerce along the river. um, so that's pretty much what I was doing. And then after I kind of figured out the roads, I kind of filled in some gaps. So I wanted there to be an outlet to each of these regions. So made sure there was one outlet per region. This one doesn't really matter as much because it's separated by water, but you could probably trade along the water with this region if they have a port somewhere. Um, and then after kind of dealing with the roads, and I started working with the where I wanted the terrain heights to be. So starting with the mountains. So I wanted this to kind of be the mountain kind of area reflected of real life. So this would be like the Appalachian Mountains in real life, but in this, it's just going to be like several different mountain ranges, and each kind of mountain range based on the region to kind of help explain what type of mountain range. So, because I want Gunner's Grim to be this like coniferous forest region, I've got these snowy mountains. Because Novalock is sort of like this wasteland volcano region, I've got these kind of sharp, intimidating looking mountains that kind of discourage travel here. Dorconia just standard brown mountains, um, and then Thylanus these sort of vibrant green mountains because it's going to be a very lush region with a lot of fauna and flora. So start working on those, uh, the mountains, and then also along the roads, adding like one kind of architectural style inspiration building per. So what I kind of wanted, I was kind of a little bit confused with Victoria because I was thinking like I want it to be sort of maybe steampunk in a way, but also very like Southwest um, USA with like a lot of mesas, but also like palm trees maybe. It might be too close of a region to have coniferous forest near a palm tree um, kind of area, but I kind of hope that as you kind of travel there, it kind of slowly feels like you're going further um, than you might actually be going. Real life, it might not, work accurate, but I think because it's a video game, just kind of trying to highlight different topographical regions to kind of make each region feel a little bit different. So I was kind of going with more of a Southwest palm tree, but also maybe a steampunk sort of vibe there. Um, I wanted to have a swampy region, so I kind of have it in the middle here. And so what I was thinking was, usually you'd have like a swampy region kind of along like the water, like whether it be like an ocean, like, Louisiana, New Orleans, kind of with a lot of, below sea level sort of thing. So what I was thinking was I would have all these hills that kind of have a barrier that kind of capture water into this kind of region. So this might be a little swampy area, and I think that kind of fits with Halloween because I kind of want it to be this autumn place, but also this. I associate autumn with like um, a lot of like Halloween vibes. So I've got like the dead trees, and I think swamps kind of fits in there a little bit well. And also with Thylanus being this kind of lush, jungly region, having a swamp next to a jungle, I think kind of makes a bit of sense. So maybe there would be some rivers kind of going through here, but because there's just no real outlet for this water to get because of all the hills. So maybe like there might be some rivers that kind of maybe feed from Doriconia to Castleguard or something, or through these hills to Castleguard. They might have some water, but I feel like there would be a lot of trapping of water here, which is kind of why I have the swamp in this region. Another thing is with like desert regions, you typically have them on like one side of a mountain because all the rainfall would go to like Thailandis and maybe a desert region would be here. But I really didn't want the mountains to be in the center of the region just because I think that that would take up a lot of space. So I kind of wanted, the mountains to kind of spine the region in a bit, in a way. So how I was kind of like logically making sense of this was again incorporating those hills to kind of try to separate water from staying on one side, and also kind of with Halloween having this dead tree forest region kind of border the desert. So this probably region doesn't get as much rainfall, but it's still kind of thematic with that Halloween spookiness and autumn vibes, like kind of like the transition into winter. And one of the things I was thinking was like maybe having Halloween a bit north, um, just because it's more autumn. Maybe it would be a good transition into like a winter region. But how I just kind of ended up liking this uh, this placement, I think it kind of made a little bit of sense having the dead trees along the side of the desert. It might not make a whole lot of logical sense, but in an area where you're right next to Manaheim and there's going to be themes of magic, you could probably have some sort of explanation. Um, so that's kind of like the thought process. Also, I really like the idea of maybe incorporating like a lot of like undead mummies and stuff like that, and so having that next to Halloween I think makes a bit of sense. And then kind of like this heavy magical, like I think Thylanus is like kind of like more like whimsical, and Halloween's a bit spooky. It kind of reminds me of like the Fey Shadowfell kind of relationship here. So I like the idea of having those next to each other, and then Doriconia. um, I like this being kind of like right next to Castle Guard in like a way where um, this is just like a major road. So I like the idea of just some big political powers kind of being along this road, and then these are kind of like lesser political powers in the north and south here. So that's just kind of how I was envisioning it. This is again just like a concept map. Before I start programming the actual routes, now I can kind of have an idea of. So if I wanted to start with Castle Guard, I might make like four routes that kind of combine together into this circle kind of format that go around the city, and then kind of make a bunch of maps inside the city that reflect Castle Guard, and then from there I can kind of expand a little bit. So if I go south, I go like, okay, so it might be like this region that's kind of a little bit of hills, a little bit of forest that kind of transitions into a swamp region. And then that swamp region will kind of transition into this autumnal region. And this is where it kind of gets a little bit complicated because I may not have all these assets, but I can try to at least try my best to kind of accurately fit this map um, the way that I kind of envision it being. So instead of just going into it and just creating maps and just seeing where they kind of end up and not really having a map to kind of reference, I think that it could really benefit the player, I guess, if I could incorporate this map somewhere into the game, just to make it a little bit easier for them to be like, oh, okay, so I know that I need to get to Halloween, and I'm currently in Castleguard, so I'll try to find the southern route to get there. So just kind of like having these kinds of helpful pointers, not just for the programmer, but for the player as well, I think will help out the process a bit. But yeah, not I don't want to go too much into this. I just wanted to kind of showcase, I guess, a little bit of the process and the purpose and all that. And you know, this is just kind of the devlog for today. Hope that you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.